Okay, so we are recording, and I get to start over again. This is awesome. Hopefully, I'll do a better job, smooth everything out. So, again, my name is Gary Thompson. Welcome to the McCall Science School Graduate Program webinar. We appreciate everybody checking in. And again, we are recording this for posterity and for our website. The mission of the McCall Science School is to transform lives and communities through innovative outdoor research and educational experiences. That mission, it transcends all our programming, it transcends a lot of the decisions we make and how we do everything from staffing to allocation of resources. So you're going to see that as we discuss the graduate program. Hopefully you'll see opportunities for that mission to present itself in the choices we make. I'm going to do this quick intro to the McCall Science School. And what I'm going to do is talk about where we are. I'm going to talk about who we are, and then a little bit about how some of our programming is connected. And then we'll meet some of our faculty and staff and get straight into the graduate program. So we are located, again, in the west central mountains of Idaho. It is an amazing place. We're surrounded by water on all sides. We've got the Salmon River. We've got the Payette River. It's a beautiful place. And our home is right outside the town of McCall, which sits on the shores of Payette Lake. And the McCall Science School program is located at the University of Idaho's McCall Field Campus. This campus has a 70, 80-year history of being involved in conservation education. And in about 2001, the McCall Science School was started to continue that legacy. The buildings we have are, some people call it cabin chic, but it's definitely reminds you of a summer camp or log cabin type place you might see in the woods. We have a lodge. We've got these great big ponderosa pine trees, and we've added some new structures recently, or just the last 10 years or so, to use as graduate classrooms or meeting spaces. And the newest one we call the Spirit Year. And this is where a lot of the graduate academic components take place when they're not out in the field. Now, as far as who we are, obviously a big component is the people that show up to be a part of the graduate program. We've been really fortunate over the years to have some incredible people come to participate. They come from all across the U.S. They have their own amazing experiences and backgrounds that they bring to the table. We take those backgrounds and we create a little community. We have a cohort format here, so people form teams, and you get to know each other pretty well in those teams. And that's who you work with, both academically and as an instructor in our K-12 program. So we take the diversity of backgrounds with our grad students and we apply that to the diversity of expertise and experience that our faculty bring to the table. We're very fortunate with the people that have decided to work here and create and develop our programming. And it's great to see them bring that into our academic setting and share that with our graduate students, who then take that theory, so to speak, or the academic component, and put it into practice in the field with a variety of programming, primarily our K-12 residential outdoor science programming. But as you'll see, we have other programming as well. Again, the who of programming at Moss, we have graduate students, we have K-12 students, we have community members, we have scientists, we have teachers. And we take these different groups and connect them by looking at place-based inquiry, by looking at our communities and complex issues within them. And we also look at things like STEM identity. And you're going to see that in a lot of the different programs we have. We try to bring these different groups together and combine that with our academic approach and curriculum and kind of dive deep into different issues and opportunities in our communities. That's Moss, quick and dirty. If you want to know more, of course, you can go visit our website. Today on our webinar, we're going to look at our degree, the Master of Natural Resources. We're going to talk about what happens to Moss grads after they leave the program. And I believe the intent there that people are interested in is what kind of jobs do they get, or where do they go professionally after Moss. We're going to meet 2 of our faculty members and learn a little bit about them, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the K-12 science program and then the finances of participating in the Moss graduate program. I'm going to pause right here. Do you have any questions from anybody about what I've covered so far? Long pause. All right, this is great. Moving on, we're going to introduce our Moss graduate degree. So we're going to introduce Mark and Jan. They're 2 of our faculty members, and they're going to come over and grab a seat, and I'll let them introduce themselves. Who wants to go first on the degrees that you want?
Yeah, I'll go.
All right, so why don't you grab my seat right here?
Okay.
It's the bottom arrow to advance.
Okay, so I am going to cover some information about what the academic year looks like at Moss. So, as Gary said, this is a Master of Natural Resources. It's a residential program, a 1-year program. So you start in August and you'll finish the following August, and it'll be residential all at our field campus. And I'll describe a little more of that here. But when you first arrive, you do a 3-week orientation and training. So you get trained on how to deliver content for the K-12 program. And also takes part of an ecology class to learn about this place through the lens of ecology. In that fall semester, you take a few different classes. One is a place-based education class. So another is a place-based ecology class. You have a leadership for environmental educators. And then we do a seminar class, which is called Social Ecological Systems and Integrated Approach. And the idea of that seminar class is that it integrates all the work that you're doing. So you get to connect leadership, place-based education, and place-based ecology in typically what are local issues. And then you also have the teaching practicum, which is a big part of that semester as well. In the spring semester, when we start the spring semester in January, we're typically in the midst of the winter, so a lot of snow on the ground. And so there's a lot of snow on the ground. And what we do in the first 2 weeks is an orientation to teaching in the winter environment. And that's one example right there, people doing that. And then you also study winter ecology. So it's that combination in the first couple of weeks. Then after the first couple of weeks orientation, we go into the teaching cycle and a learning cycle where you'll be doing a teaching practicum, teaching the K-12 program, and also taking place-based ecology 2 is what we call it, and it's really a winter and spring ecology class. And then you'll be doing a science communication class, and the continuation of that interdisciplinary seminar, which tries to connect all your learning into an integrated approach. What comes at the end of that semester is a trip to Taylor Ranch Wilderness Research Station in the middle of the French Church. So we fly everybody in for about 5 days at a time and finish up those classes and kind of tie up the spring semester with a wilderness experience. And often a big part of that is talking about what the Wilderness Act and what that means, particularly in the context of the state of Idaho and the West. Following that, let's see, where are we here? Following that, there's the summer, and that's really where you do an internship. And it's based in McCall. There's a few different options that are in those internships. And the idea with that is that will be a continuation of that integrated seminar. So you'll take the things that you've learned throughout the year and apply them in kind of a form of action. And so that's how the connectivity, the connective tissue between the different semesters and the internship. Let's see where are we? I'm going to go back. So in one of the first slide that I had, there is a link to the curriculum and the coursework. So if you want to learn more about those classes, you can click on that link at the beginning of this section. I will mention a little bit about that this is a non-thesis program, and so but there is a final product that you are expected to deliver at the end of your coursework and your end of your internship, and that's a portfolio. And the goal behind that is for you to create something that you can take on professionally, and also kind of put a capstone on your experience at Moss. And that entails projects from your classes, reflections from your teaching practicums, curriculum that you might develop, and then also the results of your internship project, okay? We do have one other option as well, which is a certificate program, a graduate certificate program. So if people are interested in that, you can find more out on the website on that link as the details of that. But that is really a program for people who are already enrolled in a PhD or an MS degree, and they want to augment and broaden their experience. And that requires, you can choose from the classes. There's some options within those classes, and you can find more about that on the website. But what you can do is you can gain varied teaching experience. You can teach in the K-12 program. You can be a teaching assistant for graduate classes. And you also can learn how to really effectively communicate your own science or other science, or understand how science might be communicated to you. So it's incredibly valuable for a graduate experience to be able to walk away with that. Let's see, I think that finishes. Do you have anything to add on there?
No, I think that sounds great.
So I'm just going to pause for a second with our question slide and see if there are any questions about the academic year that you may have.
And you might have to unmute yourself, or there's also that chat window. So if you don't want to talk, you can also just send us a question in the chat window.
And you can always follow up with questions as well to anybody involved in this webinar. Okay.
Good.
So we're going to trade seats here and be in the center here.
Sounds good. Yeah. So hi, everybody. My name is Jan Eitel, and I'm also faculty here at the McAllister Science School. And I want to talk a little bit about where do you go after Moss, right? This is a question I'm sure all of you have thought about a little bit. You know, are you interested in the Moss program? And now the question is, what comes after the Moss program, right? Well, to answer that question, a good place to go to kind of get some ideas of where people go after the Moss program is to follow that link that is here on the website. So you see a link to web. So if you click on that, that leads you to you know, examples of where our students go after they go through the Moss program. But now, like, to kind of summarize where people are going, I like to think about 5 different categories, basically, our people are going into. The first one would be more like traditional, like education, so classroom education. So, so a lot of our students are ending up in the classroom. Though what I should say about those educators is that since they went through the Moss program, often they're quite innovative. So they have, on top of their traditional education experience, they also have this Moss experience, which helped them to be quite innovative and bringing kind of like new approaches to the classroom. Then we have informal educators. So now the big question is, what are informal educators? Well, so some of our people are ending up as guides. It could be raft guides, could be climbing guides, could be hiking guides, those type of things. We have interpretive rangers that are informal educators. So those are examples of informal like education. Then the third big category are people that are getting into natural resource management kind of fields. And so a lot of those people start working for agencies such as the Forest Service, the Bureau of Land Management, BLM, those type of agencies. And so we have a wide variety of students that get into those type of fields. Again, what's unique about the students that coming out of the MOS program is that besides maybe having this more natural resource management focus in their undergraduate education, that they get this communication skill set here at MOS and also this leadership skill set at MOS. And so that sets them apart a little bit from their peers that have, you know, only traditional backgrounds in, let's say, wildlife management or forestry. Then the fourth category our students are getting into, so we have quite a few students that are interested to continue getting to the sciences. So what does that mean? Well, so some of the students, they're getting PhDs. Others, they work as research technicians for scientists. So we have quite a variety of people that also continuing in the science fields. And then the fifth category is really the kind of like catch-it-all, right? So if you look at the MOS program, we'll see is that a lot of things we're covering, so we basically training more generalists rather than specialists. And because of that, we have a wide variety of different, you know, like people that get into fields you cannot even think about, right? And so, you know, we have people getting into law school. We have people like starting their own small businesses. So there's also different examples for that. So again, if you want to learn a little bit more specific examples of what our graduate students are doing, go to that web link that is here on the slide and explore a little bit some of their careers and see where our graduate students ended up. Good. So here, this is just, this is basically just repeating what I just said, with a few examples of some of our graduate students and what careers they're in now. And I'm just clicking through those slides. You can do this on your own here. I guess the next slide here is for Gary.
Yeah, I'll just pop in real quick. So we have, like I said, we kind of try to build over time, kind of building on that strong cohort experience. And it's interesting. Just there's people have really strong connections, and using that, we've created the McCall Science School Alumni Network. And basically all that means is I set up a Facebook group. And on that group, though, we've got about 120 postings a year for jobs. And the exciting thing that we've seen over time, and after doing this since 2001, is a lot of our former grad students are now in a position where they're hiring MOS grad students. And so we've got this strong alumni network that's developed. And again, we've got, you know, our faculty here who have their own connections and their own network. And so we've got this great kind of place we can funnel and try to help people, you know, put their MOS degree to use. And you get access to that once you join the program. So that's how that works. So good, yeah? Thanks.
Good. Next, we wanted to talk a little bit about what skill sets are you picking up while going through the MOS program. And you can see on the slide here, it's quite busy. Really, you know, like what you can see if you take a look at those points you listed here, you know, it's a wide range of skill sets you're picking up, from designing curriculum to data analysis to scientific thinking to science communication to you know, applying best teaching practices to informal and formal educational settings. So all sorts of different like skill sets you're picking up. But I think what really makes this program so unique is that we're really trying to link those skill sets together, right? So for example, if you take some of those classes, let's say data analysis, or you design a curriculum, on main campuses, right? What's happening is you take those classes, but there's no natural link between those classes, right? But what's really unique here is because of the seminar we're teaching, we're really trying to connect what you're learning in those individual classes, right? We're trying to link that together to really make you an integrated thinker. And so that's really like one of our main goals. So you pick up specific skill sets, right? But then we also try to link those skill sets together and to make you a truly integrated thinker. And so again, you're picking up skill sets, but at the same time, you also link those skill sets together, which at the end makes this really a powerful experience. And our hope is when you come out of this program, you're a truly integrated thinker.
Hey, Jan, go on to the next slide if you don't mind. But real quick, we had a question from our survey I sent out. But people were wondering what skill sets do grad students come to the program with? Like, is there any expectation, or like, what are you looking for with people that come to the program as far as in relation to the skills you just had up on the screen there?
Yeah, this is a very good question, and thanks for sending that question. And that's another really, in my opinion, what makes Moss program here so incredible and really outstanding. Because we really have people with all sorts of different backgrounds, right? You know, like ranging from people that have, let's say, some sort of art degree, right? Or maybe more social science degrees. And then we have people that have more like, you might call them the hard sciences or biophysical sciences, right? And so we bring all those people together in one learning cohort, in one learning community. And that really, like, the students are also teaching each other and supporting each other, and you know, like, for example, the artists or the social scientists or people with educational background might help the people that have, let's say, more like a traditional biophysical, like science kind of background, and help them with their teaching. And then the people with their more biophysical science background then help maybe some of the people that have maybe more a social science background, you know, with some of the teaching of ecological concepts. So so there's no requirement in terms of like background you have to come to this program. What we ask you for is to bring your own expertise, and then also, you know, bring that to the cohort experience, right? And again, this makes this program so strong, all your different types of experiences. So again, what we don't want is that we only have one type of student here, but we're really striving for that we have a wide range of students, because at the end, that makes it a more holistic experience. And this is really what we're trying to offer here at the McCall Science School.
Awesome. Thanks, Sean. And I'm going to tilt this camera a little bit so Mark can get the slide there too. And yeah, so let's do this. Go here. Oops. Sorry, I've got to back out of something real quick. Go back to sharing a screen. Go to this. It's a little bit of back and forth. So, yeah, I just want to point out too that I'm going to interrupt you. I'm sorry, but we've got on our screen here the link to webs not working over the chat. So if you just go to our website, you can find it. But I'll open it up for you real quick and share with you. Just if you go to our About Moss, kind of the top option on the left there, you can meet our faculty and staff. You can kind of do a deep dive into who we are. You can also look at our current graduate students and their bios. If you haven't done it already, it's just kind of neat to see who comes here. And it highlights what Jan was sharing, just about not only the diverse backgrounds of our faculty and staff, but also where people are coming from who sign up for the program. So thanks, Jan. Back to you.
Yeah, I guess what Gary just introduced here, he just showed you, you know, the faculty and staff here at the McAllister Science School. You can see, if you look at some of our bios, we really like, we are diverse. We are quite diverse in terms of our background. So maybe Mark, you can tell them a little bit about your background.
Sure. Yeah, I think what the unique thing is that if we were all on a main campus, we'd all probably be in different departments. However, here, we're all in the same place, and so we get to share a really interesting group of research experiences and backgrounds, which makes MOSP incredibly unique. So my background is traditionally in chemistry. The research that I'm doing right now is looking at chemical ecology, the one between plants and also within mammals. So I look at volatile organic chemicals that come off of trees or excreted by different mammals, and then see what kind of information we can garner from that. I also have some projects working in how to teach some of these classes differently. So in education, and one of my favorite things right now that I do is to teach a chemistry class that is based in outdoor chemistry. That's it. We teach that on a campus, and we do a lot of the learning outside, which is pretty unique for a chemistry class. I can talk about Teresa if you want.
Sure.
So another faculty, Teresa Cohn, her background is writing historical geography, working with indigenous groups in the West, specifically in water issues. She teaches the science communication class and is involved in the integrated seminar, as we all are. And her research has a number of different facets, but right now she has one program that is looking at perceptions of water in a landscape and how that relates to governance structures within the resource that is water. She's also involved with various faculty on main campus in interdisciplinary projects as well.
Good. A little bit about myself. So I have a forest ecology background, and just broadly very much interested in ecology. A lot of my research right now focuses on climate change effects on the Arctic. So a lot of my research projects are in Alaska, as well as in northern Canada. A lot of them are NASA funded currently. There's a big interest to better understand of how climate change might affect those systems up there. Like more locally, projects I have going on. So I do quite a bit of snow-related work. So currently I have a graduate student, a PhD student. He's working on trying to use some remote sensing techniques to better characterize snow interception by trees and use that information to then forecast stream flows. So this is just like some examples there. In terms of other interests I have, are also similar to Mark, and I think that kind of connects all of us here as faculty. I also have quite a bit of interest in teaching, of how we can teach certain, especially sciences, more effectively to students, so K-12 students, but also college students. It's also an interest of mine, and I've over the years, we've published several papers about those topics in various journals to kind of to help others and communicate with other scientists of how to do this more efficiently. So that's me in a nutshell. Then now the faculty we have here is Carla Eitel. You can see that there are links between the names. So she also happens to be my wife. And Carla, she is what she's really interested in. She's really interested in environmental education. And that's, so she's teaching the environmental education class here. You would be taking during the first semester. In terms of her research, she's very interested in science identity. So right now she leads a big NSF project where she tries to use drone technology in a cultural sensitive way to get Native American students into STEM fields. So that's a project she's currently working on. But overall, her big interest is science identity and how to get students more into those science fields. So I just got here from my question, what is STEM, what is NSF? So STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math careers. and then NSF is the National Science Foundation. So sorry, I'm using those acronyms without really, telling you what they're standing for. So yeah, so that's our faculty here in a nutshell. If you're interested to learn more about us and also other people that are associated with the MacArthur Science School, please go to the faculty, staff and faculty web link to learn more about us.
I've got one question real quick. We'll put Mark and Jan on the spot if I can. This is kind of an ambush, but I'm curious, and I'll go first so you have a second to think about it. But I want to know, like, what inspires you most about the work you do here? And so just take a second to chew on that. I'm off camera, but this is Gary, but I teach a leadership class here. And I think for me, this is an advanced move here, but one thing that really inspires me is I love it that our grad students go out and have impact, that they leave this program and they go out and I think of them as kind of like going off, like they go to their home communities or they go to new communities and they're able to make change and really affect the world. And so for me, that's what inspires me, is just being a part of that, feeling like I give somebody the tools. I mean, they do the work, but I can help provide them the tools or understanding that from a leadership perspective that enhances that ability. So yeah, that's me.
Well, Gary, for me, it's quite similar to you. For me, also, what really inspires me is that, like you as a student, seeing you grow, and then seeing where you take what you learned at Moss. And so, one of the greatest things for me is, so for example, last week I got an email from one of our graduate students that graduated last year, and he told me a little bit about what he's up to right now. And I could see, like, just through his email, the excitement came through about the job he just got, and those are kind of things for me that are incredible to see that. Also, when I see what the Moss program can do here locally, but also for the state, right? So when I see, for example, here in the McCall community, how well received our students are and what they're doing. So, for example, a few weeks or months ago now, there was a farm to table event that was basically put on by Moss that made me really proud of, things really changing here in the community. And really the engine behind that is the Moss program, right? And then also what really excites me is also all the kids we have on campus here every week, right? And seeing them, how excited they are to go outside, to learn outside, to experience, just seeing them grow and have a very positive learning experience. And that's very, for me, that for me it's just like a great experience. So.
Yeah, I think for me the key word is impact. Within the graduate program now have hundreds of graduate students who have gone out in the world with what I think is a really interesting, unique skill set and way to look at the world. And then the impact on the students in Idaho, the school students, we're talking about thousands of students whose lives have been changed by their experience of coming to this campus. And that is incredibly enriching on a daily basis. And sometimes it's easy to lose sight of that when you're working away, but that is the thing that I always come back to say, why am I here? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And that is an incredibly powerful part of this program.
Awesome. Thank you both. Any questions for our faculty, or before we're going to jump on our staff for our next slide? Okay. I'm going to shrink this down again. Okay. Let's do this. Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna we'll introduce them in a second. We'll do that at the end. But as far as finding a little bit more about you two.
Oh.
But this is Beth and Leslie are here. They are respectively our K-12 graduate program coordinator and our graduate program coordinator and our K-12 program coordinator. So they're the folks that make it all happen. And they're going to walk us through, what is a typical week at Moss and how this stuff kind of fits together.
Cool. I'll go first. My name's Beth, and I'm going to walk you through what a typical week at Moss looks like. It's not necessarily the same week to week, which keeps you on your toes, and I think is one of the best parts of our program, the diversity of what you're doing here at Moss. So, where are you scrolling to?
I was just showing them the link. If you want to learn more about the K-12 program,
Sure.
You can go to our website, use the link. There's videos, there's pictures.
Cool. And I'll come back to that in a second. So throughout your time at Moss, you're split into two teaching teams in your cohort. So you'll be working with about 10 other graduate students, either in courses or in teaching in the K-12 program. All right, so this is kind of a split of the top part is a week and the bottom part is a week. So if you are teaching first, you'll be participating in our K-12 instruction, and it's a unique part of our program where you are putting your coursework into action and applying what you're learning in your courses to teaching K-12 students, which I think is pretty fantastic part of our Moss graduate program. So essentially it's, you'll be participating in 40 hours a week of directly engaging with typically 5th or 6th graders. Sometimes we do some outreach with younger students, sometimes pre-K, up until high school students as well. So you'll kind of get a diversity of teaching experience, and we go out in the state park and are outside for most of that time. Alternatively, you will be the next week in coursework. So you'll be hanging out in the spirit yurt, as Gary pointed out before, and also out in the field a lot of the time as well. So again, it's about 40 hours for commitment to that coursework. About 8:30 to 4:30 each day in assignments after that as well. So this is kind of an outline of a 5-day week-by-week program in that. Anything else? Okay, cool. And then I will go into more of the K-12 aspect of things. So the K-12 program, I am the K-12 program coordinator, so Leslie and I both do a lot of work in that respect, but we are also your coaches for the teaching practicum. So you'll be split into 2 different teaching teams, like I said before, and with your fellow instructors, you'll be taking usually 5th and 6th graders out into the field into Ponderosa State Park pretty much all day for about 6 hours a day. And you'll be taking what you're learning in your coursework and applying that to your students. So you're kind of translating all of the awesome ecology and place-based education work and science communication and synthesizing it into a lesson plan that you'll then deliver with the 5th and 6th graders. And we adhere to the next generation science standards. We bring in some of the teachers' individual expectations for their students, and we kind of mix it all together into a discovery-based outdoor science program for the students. It's our signature program at Moss, in addition to the graduate program, and I think is a really great application, in addition to the integrated seminar that Mark and Jan were talking about earlier, of like how to really bring everything together and deliver an impactful and empowering experience for younger students who eventually will be change makers in this world as well.
In terms of the support that you'll receive for doing this, I know sometimes this piece can be intimidating for people of like, well, I don't know how to work with students yet, and that's okay, because we will be here to support you throughout that. So like Jan and Mark mentioned earlier, there's the orientation period at the beginning of each semester. And then also Beth and I's role as your coach is to give you logistical support. And we also provide a lot of resources and come out and watch you teach and give you some mentorship and feedback and support in that role. So there's a lot of co-learning that happens among everyone. So you're not necessarily just thrown in there to work with students on day one without any extra support. So it'll be great.
Yeah. Leslie and I are actually both graduate students in the Moss program. Went off to do other things and then came back and are excited to be coaches in the K-12 program as well to support your experience here. All right. If there are any questions about K-12 stuff, what kind of workload can you expect outside of the Monday through Friday 8:30 to 4:30 Moss days? Great question. And Mark, maybe you can pop into this about extra assignments, but so you can expect to be in class from 8:30 to around 4:30, about 6 or 7 hours a day. It's a pretty intense workload, and we do that so that you can get all of the credits that you need within those contact hours for with your instructors. Outside of that, what would you say for homework load?
There's certainly significant readings, and then typically what a lot of the classes we assign a project that then travels the course of the semester, so it's something that you can work through the whole semester. An example, the ecology class is a research project, so you develop a research idea and work through that through the semester. Second semester ecology class is a phenology project, so you'll make observations and compile that information as final project. So there's a couple of examples of kind of the workload, and then there's some, typically it's readings and being prepared to communicate your ideas and the things that you feel like you're getting out of those readings and participate. The really key part of the classes is the participation. And that's, as part of being an immersive community as well. So it's a fairly significant amount, but it's very, very productive in the sense that it's very relevant and key to this class.
And in terms of the K-12 program, you are required to develop lesson plans, and that's part of the teaching practicum. So the teaching practicum in the K-12 program is a course. You'll get 4 credits throughout your time at Moss in the teaching practicum. So with that, you'll develop lesson plans, turn those in, and also do some critical reflection of your teaching experience, either in journal entries or other discussions with Leslie and I about how to improve as an educator and science communicator. Typically, it works well if you can kind of relegate your learning weeks and your teaching weeks so that you're focusing on teaching when you're teaching and you're focusing on coursework when you're focusing on coursework. So you can really stay present with your students, if that's the case, or with your peers and discussions and readings, if that's the case in the
Any other questions?
Cool.
Okay, so this is the next piece we want to cover is what are the expenses and what are the available scholarships or support. So the next slides that we're going to go over are actually taken directly from the website, but also feel free to click on that link so you can see where we're at on the website. So when you're on our website, under the Masters of Natural Resources, there's a tab, Tuition and Fees and Scholarships, and this is where you'll find this table. In the fall semester, the expenses look like paying about half of the program fee, and so the program fee overall is about $20,000. And we split it into half so that there's the 10,000 or so in the fall semester and 10,000 or so in the spring semester. Of course, you'll be looking at other fees like books if you want to be on the meal plan and housing options. We had a question earlier about what are the housing options and why they cost different amounts. And so all of our housing on campus are double occupancy. And so they're all set up with a bunk bed, with table, dressers, chairs, with a mini fridge. And so it's kind of set up basically like a little dorm room style. And then that's the yurts. And in the cabins is additionally we'll have running water. So there's a restroom and also a kitchenette with a sink and cabinets. So you can have kitchen appliances in there as well. And so that accounts for some of the cost difference throughout the different options. You're also welcome to find additional housing offsite if you prefer, not have to live on campus. And play around with the costs that way by looking at some of the costs for rents in McCall. And grad students have often found success renting with some of their cohort members to bring some of the costs down as well if they're going to live off-site. So the meal plan for orientation is for just those few couple of weeks when you're arriving, and often people are just getting settled and figuring out housing and schedules and such, and so have meals together. And then after that orientation plan is over, we start with the semester, so you could opt into the weekly meal plan, which is Monday dinner through Friday breakfast. Next semester, see if I can make the slide change. There we go. Spring semester, you see the other half of that program fee, and then the costs of housing are actually different than the fall semester, and that's just because we are renting the spaces monthly, and the spring semester is a bit longer than the fall semester. And orientation is a bit shorter, so that's the differences in those costs. Some of the resources available for financial support, we have 2 diversity and inclusion scholarships that we're going to be giving out in spring this year. After students have been accepted into this program, we'll let you know how to submit some sort of an essay that just describes your diverse perspective, and that would be given in the form of an $8,000 stipend towards tuition, and then $1,000 for expenses to be spent at your discretion. And then we have summer internships. So we require that you do internships in McCall for the summer, and Moss hosts a handful of those, 6, 8, 11, 12, somewhat depends on the year. And those are roughly $4,000 stipend for the summer, along with the job experience and housing available to continue on at McCall. Scholarships, others than the diversity scholarship, this is where you got to be creative. We've had a lot of students have success with small local hometown organizations like Rotary clubs, like churches. Once you have left a area, it's nice to look back and see maybe your undergraduate university has scholarships for graduate programs. There's a variety of different things if you're creative. Don't forget to look into AmeriCorps or Peace Corps Education Awards, and also GI Bill. Creative, ask around, and apply. If you don't apply, please don't. Any other questions about finances at this point?
About housing. So there's a question, is it an option to live on campus with others who are not enrolled in the Moss grad program, as in a spouse or a dog? At this point, we do not allow dogs on campus in housing unless it is a service animal. And if you have specific individual questions about that, we can certainly get in touch with you, or get in touch with us, and we'll let you know about that. And in terms of having a spouse who's not enrolled in the program, or somebody who's not enrolled in the program live with you, we do give preference to enrolled graduate students. So we will fill up our housing with our graduate students first. If we do not fill up housing, then there might be an option to have non-enrolled people.
Family members.
Family members, yes. Have students been able to get a part-time job during the school year? Fantastic question.
I'll take this one. So typically students will enter the program, come in for the fall semester and spend some time getting adjusted to the workload, to the schedule, and to the community, and just getting settled. We have a long winter break from the Friday before the week of Thanksgiving through after New Year's. And so we have a long physical break from McCall should you choose to travel or go home or stay and work or get a job elsewhere that's short term. So there's a good chunk of time to get a job there. And then there's a possibility to continue local jobs throughout the spring semester. I'm thinking of grad students who worked at the local ski hill or a restaurant, and they've determined what their schedule availability could be in terms of their workload and work that out with employers to potentially consider working on weekends for a little while into the spring semester. It's generally not recommended just because you really don't have a lot of free time, and so it just sets you up for some timing conflicts. But whatever works for you, that's great. We also have a couple of on-campus jobs that are sort of work study-esque. And those have more limited hours, but they're certainly more flexible to work within your schedule.
And Leslie, do you mind just like why are people limited on time?
People are limited on time because they're in classes in the teaching practicum throughout the week. So as I've mentioned earlier, that's an in-person 40-hour-a-week commitment, participating in this program, and then doing your homework, your research, your reading. And because it is a one-year program, and so we've condensed everything to make it fit in 1 year so that it's just more efficient for everyone involved, mostly for students, for your time and money commitments. You'll spend less time out of the workforce in general, so it's condensed that way.
Cool. Well, do folks have any more questions? We've kind of reached the end of our slideshow, so we thank everybody for participating. And we are, now's a chance to ask Leslie or Beth or myself anything you want to know. This is, feel free to turn your video on and your audio and just pipe right in. Yeah, I know.
And at this point, if you do need to leave the meeting and attend other things, feel free to exit the meeting as well. And this website will be, webinar will be available on our website after this. And I wanted to take an opportunity just to mention some next steps as people pop out, and then we'll come back to questions, giving people a moment to type questions if they have any. Please feel free to apply to the program. It certainly doesn't hurt to apply. And so the steps for how to do that are on our website. There's a how to apply web page. You just follow along in that process. And it does take several weeks just because of the way that the university system works. So I would encourage you to just go ahead and do that now or as soon as possible if you're interested, and start contacting references and collecting your transcripts. And I would love to talk with you more about this program or any of the people involved in this webinar or people who are unable to attend about anything else you'd like to follow up on. So please give us a call or email is a great way to do it. My email is on the screen here, ldorsey@uidaho.edu, and I would be happy to connect you to the most appropriate person to answer your question. So this time we can hop back to your questions.
I think that's it.
Cool.
The new one was not a question.
Yeah, so we're done. Again, we appreciate everybody. Take care. Once we get this posted, we'll have another little opportunity for you to send questions in. Cheers, and enjoy the holidays. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Because that once I saw it, then I said, you know, that's when the uncomfort, you know, saying the bigger dude, scarier guy.